Hello everyone, welcome to This Week in Stupid for the 19th of July 2015. This is actually the year's anniversary episode of This Week in Stupid. I have done this every week, with the exception of the week that Sean Head did one, for an entire year, without missing one. So, I'm kind of proud of that. But more importantly, thanks to everyone for listening. I wouldn't have anything without you. So this week we will begin with some Confederate flag nonsense. And this is the least stupid thing. New Orleans sets to remove Confederate landmarks. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you don't want these people being statues in your city if you feel that what they represent has really become so retrograde and defensive that it can't be... You just can't stand to look at their faces every day. Fair enough. I can accept that. I do rather think it's going a bit far when Memphis City Council votes to dig up the grave of a Confederate general. I mean, he's been dead for over 100 years. Why are you doing this? So the Memphis City Council voted unanimously to exhume the body of Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest and move it to another location, as well as the body of his wife. Just, you know what, getting rid of the statue I can understand, but digging up the guy's grave? Come on. Unsurprisingly, his descendants are solidly opposed to digging up the graves and moving them any place. But at the end of the day, fuck them. We're in an iconoclastic frenzy. We have got better things to do than to listen to those people who are against the desecration of the graves of their ancestors. Things like a new social media campaign that's encouraging people to trespass on private property and tear down Confederate flags. Now, I mean, I'm no expert, but I'm under the impression that gun ownership in the American South is rather high. In fact, they seem kind of proud of owning their guns, and they seem kind of intent on using them for self-defense. So maybe it's just me, but black guys trespassing on houses flying the Confederate flag, specifically to steal this flag, strikes me as rather foolhardy. While the Sarasota Police Department, where this originated, hasn't received any reports of stolen Confederate flags, other law enforcement agencies across the country have, including numerous reports in Anson County in South Carolina. See, these poor people, right? These people like, hey, the Confederate flag's part of my history. I'm not a white nationalist. I'm not part of the KKK. I just really like... I mean, it'd be like... In England, it's very similar to flying the English flag. It's weirdly considered racist in England to fly an English flag. It's assumed that you're part of some sort of white nationalist group. And that really bothers me. I mean, why shouldn't I as an Englishman be able to fly an English flag? So I guess there's a certain part of me that really can empathise with these people in the South who are like, well, I'm not flying it for racist reasons. Yeah, I can't help it if there are other racists who are going to do that. But that's not why I'm doing it, and I don't see why I should sacrifice part of my history to accommodate them. I mean, why would I let the racists win on this issue? And this is a very similar issue to what's happening in video games and medieval European history, believe it or not. When reality becomes fantasy, how video games are hijacking the Middle Ages is an article that was posted on medievalist.net, and that is a site that I have a lot of respect for, so when I start seeing them publishing articles about identity politics, I get a bit concerned. Just listen to this. Medieval representations in video games was the focus of Victoria Cooper's paper, Playing Politics, Exploring Nationalism and Conservatism in Fantasy Video Games, which was given earlier this month at the International Medieval Congress. Part of the session, The Use and Abuse of the Middle Ages in the Modern World 4, Nationalism and Identity, it examined the ways in which medieval imagery and history are often hijacked by far-right political groups and nationalist organisations to legitimise their historical narratives. Well, that's exactly what's happened to the Confederate flag. So this research was conducted on message boards, and the researcher found that the games don't inspire a specific kind of nationalism with another country per se, but they do harken back to, quote, the medieval, which becomes its own space and has its own nationalistic quality where real heritage is superimposed upon a fictional world. Cooper notes that the medieval world is often exploited by right-wing groups, such as the British National Party. They use the symbol of Excalibur to promote Englishness, since, according to legend, Excalibur is the sword that confers the rightful kingship of England. Okay, no. Excalibur was the sword wielded by Arthur, the guy fighting against the English in their conquest of Britain, and was actually symbolised the kingship of Britain. But details. It doesn't matter that it's the exact opposite of that. That's fine. There's even an online shop profiting from this perceived sense of English nationalism that declares Excalibur the #1 patriot goods store. Yeah, I'm sure there is. The BNP are also idiots. Fine. However, it appears the BNP is no longer affiliated with the shop. You haven't proven that they were previously affiliated. All you've said is that they both use Excalibur fallaciously as an example of Englishness. But the shop Excalibur is taking great pains to extricate itself from association by posting a large disclaimer on their front page saying Excalibur has no affiliation or ties to any political party. All merchandise sold on Excalibur belongs to Excalibur, and any profits made from such merchandise stays with Excalibur. Well, why would you tie them to the BNP except for the fact they're using English national icons? Groups like the BNP in England often attempt to tie a medieval past to their nationalism by framing it with shirts like white and proud or Anglo-Saxon as a form of identity politics. Yes, but why do you play into it? So Cooper's thesis focuses on the game Skyrim, where the Nords (Stormcloaks) are a pseudo-Viking race. Tall, fair-haired and pale, they're a seafaring warrior society that values honour, family and glory. 34% of the players interviewed picked Nords because the vast majority of them were from Europe and the United States, and they felt an affinity with the Nords' values and ancestral identity. Players associate themselves with Nord Stormcloaks because the Imperial soldiers remind them of Roman Britain. They feel connected to northern people, their plight, and this sense of, quote, Englishness. The Stormcloaks legitimise their cultural heritage. Okay, for a start, you say it's a fictional world, and it is, but it's very clearly drawn from real events and real people. It is not by some accident that the Nords just happen to look like the medieval Northmen. And nobody needs a video game to legitimise their cultural heritage. It's legitimate whether you like it or not. In players who identify as Scottish and Northern English, the Nord Stormcloaks simulate a sense of Northern white nostalgia that is ancestrally connected to the medieval place. Cooper suggests that medieval-themed video games are a space where whiteness can be anchored in a, quote, happy history, where a world is free of multiculturalism and white guilt. I'm sure that's completely accurate. I'm sure that people playing Skyrim to get away from multiculturalism and white guilt, because there's no multiculturalism in Skyrim. All the cultures are just white, monocultures. The Crusades also attracts people to these types of games. Players create their own religions, so not to cause offence or appear bigoted. They cloak Christianity with an invented religion, yet one that mirrors reality. Is that a bad thing? You guys know that Jesus was a person of colour, right? Cooper recalled the infamous Gamergate, the 2014 scandal that ended in 2014 and never went into 2015, that erupted in the gaming world when several prominent women challenged the status quo of the community. I love it. That's amazing, isn't it? To take the actual events of the matter and completely reverse them to make these women now the brave heroines, who are going to challenge the status quo, despite the fact that they are the status quo. I mean, it's not like Gamergate supporters are getting on the Colbert Report. But anyway, these women receive rape, violence, and death threats, and just these women. They and their supporters were also darks, again, just these people. But the important thing is that the scummy white male players of Gamergate insisted that representations of games should be divorced from modern politics. But the thing is, it's legitimate not to do this to Cooper because, as she says, many gamers continue to map their identity, heritage and ancestry onto these games. So whether or not they do or not is not something that she actually knows, and whether or not it's all of them or just a tiny minority, it's not something she knows. But because she thinks that that's what they're doing, she's completely entitled to turn around and say, no, that you're making this political by enjoying what I consider to be a white male ancestry or some ridiculousness like that. They claim to be apolitical, yet in the same breath refuse to acknowledge the politics behind these games. Well, to them, there are no politics in being white. There are no politics in being brown. These things are not political. But to the people writing these articles, they absolutely are. They cling to the notion that women didn't fight in the Middle Ages, fiercely stating this as fact. Well, it's not that they need to fiercely state it as fact, it's that essentially it was fact. For the overwhelming majority of women, it was absolutely factual. But the narrative continues. Unfortunately for gamers, the tide is turning. How many times have you heard that from associates? The tide is turning. And the inspection of their identities is happening whether they like it or not. That's kind of rapey. If someone says no, they mean no. What part of that don't you understand? But academics like Cooper will continue to challenge, examine, and illustrate the ways these groups misappropriate medieval history. There is no misappropriation by Gamergate or anyone else in this way of medieval history. You didn't get women warriors. The ones you got were the exception and not the rule. It's just the way it was. Well, you can complain, you can sit there and deny that all you want, but you probably think that the only reason that men and women have physical strength differences is because how they are socialized to do sports when they're kids. And I particularly love this piece of propaganda. No girls allowed with Peter Griffin hiding in his pillow fort with Gamergate underneath it. No, idiots. That's Family Guy. You fucking moron. Gamergate didn't make that. Gamergate didn't even choose that image for you to put on there. You chose it and titled it as Gamergate when it's got nothing to do with Gamergate. You fucking moron. Speaking of fucking one, in fact. Sex toy scandal. Hundreds of dildos dangle from Portland power lines. Hundreds of large white and orange dildos have been strung together in pairs and are now dangling from city power lines in Portland, Oregon. Fucking nothing screams degeneracy quite like this, does it? Residents who seem to be embracing the appearance of the phallic sex toys have taken social media to post photos of sightings with the hashtag #KeepPortlandWeird, a hashtag generally used to share quirky sightings and anecdotes from across the Pacific Northwest city. Well done. Now it's associated with dildos. Fucking, I mean, that is just class, isn't it? Others, though, seem to be outraged about the potential for children to see brightly coloured rubber penises swing in the breeze. Oh, they're just conservatives, aren't they? Fuck your children, though. I mean, just you say it's all fun and games until your 6-year-old child asks, "What are those?" as they point to the dildos in the sky. But that doesn't matter. Fuck you. Fuck your kids. We're being progressive and chucking sex toys over fucking power lines. It's the sort of quirky, retarded thing that quirky retards do. Let them be quirky and retarded. So let's finish on a story that's going to piss off the average American taxpayer. Taxpayers spend $3.5 million to find out why lesbians are fat. Holy shit. Can't we just measure the caloric intake? A US Health and Human Services study to understand why lesbians are fat has now cost taxpayers over $3.5 million to date. The study, Sexual Orientation and Obesity, a test of gendered biopsychosocial model, wow, seeks to determine why there is a disparity in the obesity rates between straight women and lesbian women and straight men and gay men. I'm sure it's nothing to do with the fact that men prefer to look at things. You know, that straight men look at women and think, oh, I want a slimmer woman, and gay men look at other men and think, well, I want a fit man. But women tend to be happier for more emotional reasons and less for physical ones. But no, it's probably patriarchy. According to the study, it is now well established that women of minority sexual orientation, read not straight, are disproportionately affected by the obesity epidemic, as if obesity is something that falls from the fucking sky and hits people without warning. With nearly 3/4 of adult lesbians being overweight or obese compared to half of heterosexual women. Well, A, it's bad enough that half of heterosexual women are obese, but B, isn't this rather a sort of chicken and egg thing? In stark contrast among men, heterosexual males have nearly double the risk of obesity compared to gay males. Yeah, that's probably true, right? But I tell you what, I would spend a lot more time in the gym if there was a chance of me getting laid at the gym. I'm just saying. So not only are these disparities of high public health significance, but the project's going to continue until the 30th of June 2016 to find out that lesbians don't get enough exercise and they eat too many cakes. This is your tax money. This is where it's going.